So I've actually only used two types of tablet my whole life. The first tablet I had was actually a Samsung Galaxy Tab, but it was a long time ago. It was probably like the second or third one. I don't even remember. So it was my first Android tab, and the experience was pretty good. It was actually a toy. You couldn't really work on it. You could barely play any games on it. I was only using it to watch YouTube videos. After that, I migrated years later to the iPad Pro, the M1 version, the one that's actually 12.9 inches. And that thing was a powerhouse. I actually bought it because I thought it was going to replace this whole setup when I travel and when I do my YouTube videos. But there was a main issue with that tablet, which actually led me to this one. And that is that I couldn't use it for productivity. It wasn't compatible with any of the SSDs I had. The ecosystem was kind of rugged when you wanted to edit video coming from this. Yeah, you could use maybe Premiere Rush, but it wasn't really a version of the regular Premiere you actually have on Mac OS. So it wasn't that much of a powerhouse I could actually use for productivity. So I ended up opting for just buying a laptop. Now I have a MacBook Pro with the M1 Pro processor with Mac OS, which is actually much better as a workstation when I'm traveling. I love that laptop, and I'm probably going to keep using that for a long time. I've been having it for about 2 years. And now, Huawei sent me this. They actually sent it to me to review, but I'm not going to review it like I would typically with any other device, just giving you the specs, just telling you how it works and what I do with it. I'm actually going to tell you how I use it every day and what it represents towards me coming from an iPad Pro. So one of the things I never do with my tablets, and I never did with the iPad Pro, was actually use it outdoors. I mean, there is some use for it. Maybe you want to watch a movie when you're at the beach, maybe when you're at the pool, but I never used it for that. I actually only used it for working. So right now I was testing it out here, and the peak brightness is actually only 500 nits on this model. And I think it's okay. It's not the brightest, but it's not the worst either. You do have an advantage with this panel, which is actually that it's matte. It has a matte finish, so it is better than glossy finishes. Even though maybe glossy screens might have a little bit more nits, the fact that this actually bounces the light off and doesn't glare straight into your eyes does give you an advantage without having to have that much brightness. So maybe this 500 nits might be equivalent to maybe 1,000 on a glossy screen. It's not an exact measurement, it's just my perspective, so take it as a grain of salt. But I can tell you, I can see this tablet out here right now without any issues. Maybe if we had a lot more sunlight, I might not be able to see it that clearly. I still think I might be able to see something whatsoever, but I think it's not bad in case you want to use it in exteriors. Just don't use it maybe at the beach or maybe at a desert. Now, one of the most important things and where it actually excels from the iPad Pro is reading. This tablet is ideal for reading text. This matte finish screen is perfect for reading text. Your eye fatigue is a lot lower compared to a glared screen, and it just feels more natural. It's a lot closer to e-ink, but it's not the same experience. I know e-ink is the ideal thing to read text, but this might actually be the second next best thing compared to e-ink. It's way better than glossy screens. So if you read a lot of text, maybe this MatePad Paper Mate Edition might be ideal for you. Now, obviously the iPad Pro has the compatibility with the Apple Pencil. This is actually called the Huawei Pencil. And I'm not gonna lie to you, the Apple Pencil is way better. It has a little bit more of technology. The sensors are a lot more complex, but it's also way more expensive. And I'm gonna tell you something, this is not bad at all. It does have a nice feel towards the panel. It actually makes a lot of sense to write on a matte finish panel. It's way more comfortable again than a glossy finish. This makes way more sense than a glossy screen to use a stylus, no matter what brand you're talking about. And it's just a better experience. Again, it's not ink quality, but it's probably the second next best thing. And you do have a lot more resolution than an e-ink screen. So if you do a lot of notes, if you like writing, well, this is definitely a budget tablet that will do a great job. Take into account, it does have the Huawei operating system, which is called Harmony OS. So you don't have access to the Play Store, you don't have access to everything that iOS does, but it's getting better. I do have some applications that have become native towards it. For example, YouTube. I don't have to use Gbox directly. I can download the APK and just use the application normally. I find no issues whatsoever. I just wouldn't use anything that was securely enough complicated for me to be worried about it. What do I mean? Well, I mean bank accounts, I mean bank transactions. I mean private information. I wouldn't do that on this tablet, and to be fair, I wouldn't do that on any tablet. That's what I have my phone for, and I try to have it the most encrypted I can and actually keep my information the most secure I can. But this is great for everything else. It's actually a good complement. And again, this matte screen makes a whole world of difference compared to the iPad, especially when you're typing on it. It also has a couple of details I liked. For example, I can't do it right now, I don't know why, but there we go. You can sketch on top of an image or anything you want to do. For example, you just press here and you can start sketching on top of this. And after you do your notes, you can turn it into a screenshot and use it as a note towards school or use it as a note towards whatever you're doing. The iPad can do similar things, but I do rather this experience because of the matte panel. And I know a lot of people are going to say, well, just get a matte screen protector for the iPad. It's not the same thing. Once you put a matte finish on top of a glossy finish, you're sacrificing resolution and also sensitivity. This being just the liquid crystal beneath it and actually having the matte finish on top of that liquid crystal makes it an excellent experience, practically the same you would have with a glossy finish, but I think is actually way better. I don't find any advantages to having a glossy finish compared to this matte finish on this tablet. Now, obviously there's a clear difference between this MatePad Papermate Edition and the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro has that killer processor. The operating system is very, very integrated towards Mac. It also has everything you would need from the App Store. Everything is premium on it. You can put Apple Care on it. It has also great battery life. The screen is gorgeous, although I do prefer matte screens now that I tried this. But that OLED screen is excellent. But this is a fraction of that price. And what actually drove me to decide and keep this tablet is that what I used to think I could do with the iPad, I couldn't. I ended up doing what I'm doing with this tablet. What do I mean? Well, I'm using it to watch movies, occasional notes. I don't edit video on it because the processor is just a Snapdragon 7 Gen 1, so it's not the most powerful one. It only has 8 gigs of RAM, so I can't really edit anything that's heavy or anything you're watching on this channel. But to be fair, I couldn't do it on the iPad either. Although the iPad could handle it, the operating system was trash, the integration towards Mac was trash, so it wasn't the powerhouse I actually wanted it to be. And that is going to be the same situation no matter what processor you put on the iPad Pro. Yes, right now there's an M4, but that M4 represents exactly the same thing towards me than the M1. I can't use the full potential on it. I can't integrate it to my workflow. So it ends up being exactly the same thing this tablet is for me. And this tablet does a couple of things better than the iPad Pro. I like the screen better for watching movies on it. I like it better for reading. I like the anti-glare way better than the iPad Pro. It's just more comfortable to use. It is a little bit smaller. It does have a stylus. It comes included with the price. It also has different accessories you can use. They actually connect very easy towards the tablet. You just put them next to it and they connect immediately. You can actually charge the pencil with the tablet. You don't need extra accessories. You don't need extra cables. You do charge it through USB Type-C. It does have 4 speakers on the side. The sound is actually excellent. It's not as good as the iPad Pro. The iPad Pro's sound is the best sound I've ever heard on a tablet. But this is not bad for the price. You can find this tablet for about $330 depending where you find. You can find a couple of bundles with the case that's actually this right here, the keyboard that's also integrated, and also the stylus. Depending on what you want, it can be a little bit cheaper or a little bit more expensive. But $300 compared to more than $1,000 for an iPad Pro, if I'm going to do exactly the same thing, well, what do you guys think happened? I actually sold my iPad Pro and I plan on keeping this, but that doesn't mean this scenario is also the same thing for you. I'm interested. I want to know, do you guys think you need an iPad Pro? Can you work with an iPad Pro? Are you going to take full advantage of it? Are you maybe a professional artist? Are you a designer? Are you a 3D renderer that can actually use iPad OS to do everything you need? I think that's going to be a very small niche, but I might actually be wrong. So drop a comment below and let me know. Another thing you might actually like is that the tablet is listed down below in the description, obviously in my affiliate links. And also, this video over here could be pretty interesting for you. So take a look at it. And also, don't forget to subscribe and drop us a like. It helps us a lot.